So you have a seller who has no underlying mortgage, or they do have an underlying mortgage, they have a low interest rate or low PITI. And what does our industry say that you should do if they're asking close to market value, right? Well, common theme that I'm seeing is that means you offer a creative contract, okay? Today, I'm going to talk about something that I have wanted to talk about for a very long time, and I think is a very valuable topic to cover for our industry. So buckle up, because this is not the popular narrative that is being put out there. Should you or can you wholesale creative contracts, creative deals? The answer to that question is absolutely you can, but for the most part, what I see being put out there is those people shouldn't. So I'm going to cover some common reasons as to why that is, common mistakes that I'm seeing people make in this, and what does that deal look like for your end buyer, your business, and the seller. So, wholesaling creatives. There's a lot that comes with the package here. And I want to start out with the fact that in this industry, I see people putting creatives out that can barely write a normal contract, okay? People wanting to learn creatives that have never done a deal before. And why do I think that this is a problem? Well, first and foremost, creatives are a more complex strategy. You need to understand and have a certain track record before you even attempt that. And that can be something as simple as understanding that the creative is merely a form of financing and a different set of paperwork with different liabilities, responsibilities for all parties across the board. It's a different set of contracts, right? And when I say creatives, I could be talking about everything from seller finance, lease option, subject to novations, etc., right? Understanding what those terms mean is vitally important. Understanding what those contracts look like is vitally important. And I see people who don't even understand what, normal basic contract terms actually mean, trying to learn how to do these things or offering these things to sellers as a solution, because they somewhere along the way picked up that if a property payoff or asking price from a seller is close to market value, that the only way that they can possibly become a wholesaler on that deal or take it down is by locking it up creatively, okay? But they have no idea what these things actually mean. They are not considering where end buyers buy. They don't know how to underwrite it. They don't understand the different impacts that can have on the movability and the closability of the deal. And they definitely don't understand the liabilities and responsibilities that come with the parties within those contracts, right? So first and foremost, let's just cover the fact that you have no business, one, trying to wholesale these things or underwrite them if you don't understand what the contracts themselves mean. Two, if you do not understand what the liabilities in those mean, you probably have no business offering those to sellers as solutions if you don't have somebody who is extremely experienced to partner with in the deal before any contracts are signed, okay? Three, your end buyer, if you're wholesaling it, you have to understand what it looks like for them as far as the underwriting goes. Now, what does that mean? Let's just go ahead and say that we are looking at a deal and it's a high buy-in price, but it's a low interest rate creatively. But people aren't understanding what the exit is. They're underwriting these deals with no potential profit, negative potential profit, negative potential equity, negative cash flow. But they think somebody's going to buy this as an investment with a 40% buy-in, and they just don't understand why we won't JV with them on that deal. And it's like, well, it makes absolutely no sense. Nobody can flip it. You can't hold it. You can't use it as a rental. You can't wrap it, and they can't make money, but they're going to put in a 40%. Like, why are they going to buy that deal? And they just don't understand it. And every now and then we get an answer back where they've now creatively spun the exit strategy. Like, they're going to do a pad split. They're going to do a short-term rental on it, right? But they don't know what it's like for a short-term rental, for example, is a service business. They have to furnish everything in that house. They don't understand the costs associated with that. They don't understand the cost of the money for that huge buy-in, plus that huge rehab that investors want to invest money to make money on the money they invest. So you've got these extremely complex deals that people don't even understand the terms. They don't understand the numbers that people are needing to come in at as an end buyer, and then expecting somebody to pick that up. And in essence, what they're doing is they're just locking up these contracts creatively because they want to throw spaghetti at the wall to see if it'll stick, because somebody told them that's what they should do. Okay. And I see it so often. Not only that, let's just say all those things are solved. Let's say you understand the contracts, you understand what they mean, the terms, what they mean. You actually understand how to underwrite it. But do you understand the HOA restrictions on your exit strategy? Do you understand the city permits and potential regulations on your exit strategy? Do you understand the county permits and regulations on your potential exit strategy? Do you understand the state laws, regulations, judgments on your potential exit strategy with these creatives? Because if you don't, you're still not in a position to be trying to lock up, take down, or wholesale creatives. And here are some examples of that. So, for example, seller finance in the state of Texas. If you do more than one of those, I believe it's one, might be two. Don't quote me. I'm not an attorney. If you do more than one or two of those a year in the state of Texas, you have to have a debt servicing company attached to it. You have to have a loan officer attached to that closing. Did you know that? If you didn't, and you're trying to do seller finance in the state of Texas, that's something that you need to know. That's a statewide regulation. Okay. Do you understand that in the state of Texas, lease options are extremely frowned upon? There are ways around it. I see people do it. It's not very common practice. Huge regulations on that. And I don't even want to say that it's outlawed in the state of Texas, but it's very near outlawed. They put huge regulations on lease options here. Do you understand that our longest standing title company that we close deals with in the state of Texas will not close novations? Do you understand that, local judgments on the gray areas and subject to are very important to your end buyer? And a lot of these creatives, they come with additional liabilities for you as a business, even if you're wholesaling, right? So understanding what happens if you don't set all parties' expectations up correctly in these deals, if it's not all extremely clear and transparent to all parties on the contract, it can get very convoluted. What if somebody defaults? What if somebody runs out of money? What if, right? If you don't understand how these situations can go sideways, and you're setting up a even more complex deal where people are in those contract terms for long terms, then you don't have any business wholesaling it. You don't have any business locking that contract up creatively. Again, this is just something that I see people who don't understand how to underwrite for their exit, locking these creative deals up and thinking that they're going to work, when realistically it's like, I can go get a hard money loan and be so much more risk adverse than this creative deal. You might even lock it up at a near correct contract price or purchase price, but because your buy-in is so high to get the seller to go with a creative contract or go a longer term with when they collect their money, or however you structure that deal, I see so many people that just don't even understand that it doesn't make financial sense for your end buyer to purchase this property because of the buy-in alone, or the rehab alone. They're just not considering what it actually takes to get these deals done. And these are the biggest mistakes that I see people in. They fall in love with the idea of being able to see a way to solve a problem for somebody to get a contract locked up and give them near market value is the biggest one. When realistically speaking, there's just no way, shape, or form that deal should even been offered a creative strategy. They just don't even know how to underwrite that creative financing portion of it. They don't understand how that creative financing and creative contracts in and of themselves are really more often used as just that financing strategy, right? It's a way that it can change the numbers, but it's not going to make that big of a swing for you. And they're not underwriting the deal based on the exit strategy for the investor. They're just underwriting the numbers on the as-is existing property. They're not even considering what the rehab is. They're not considering that somebody wants to make money on the money that they put in as an investor. And these are just like extremely common things that I'm seeing whenever we get creatives brought to us. So I really, really, really feel like this is just something that needs to be said in this industry, and it's just not being put out there. This information isn't being put out there enough. If you are really interested in locking up deals, or even creating and building a portfolio, or flipping and using creative contracts, creative financing terms, then you need to understand what those mean. You need to understand how to underwrite a basic deal. And if you are a wholesaler and you're trying to wholesale these contracts, do understand that your liabilities may not end when that closes. Those liabilities can even come back on you after the fact. Do understand that you need to be educating or partnering with somebody who truly understands those things, even if you are to the point that you can underwrite the basics, but you just don't even understand what the contract terms mean, or what it's like to wholesale and what kind of liabilities. And then again, guys, the local laws and restrictions on those deals, it can be extremely more complex. You're adding in a lot more parties to the transaction. in a long-term sense. And this is just something that people don't talk about enough. They talk about all of the big, sexy potential stuff that comes with, creatives and creative solutions to real estate. And don't get me wrong, we in our history have done a lot of creative deals. It is definitely a very small percentage of an offer that we're going to make on a property. It is definitely triggered by what the seller situation is, but also keeping the end buyer in mind. The contracts are definitely structured to where everybody is going to be protected in a certain sense. We really understand what it means to sign up and the responsibilities and liabilities that come with it outside of just the law. But as far as the relationship, one of the most common phrases I use is, it's like we're going to be in a long-term relationship. It's kind of like we're going to be married for a little while. If I'm talking to sellers about this, understand that there's liabilities that can change those contracts, and that you're getting into a long-term situation, and you have to have a backup plan, and you have to be protected as the buyer if the worst should happen, right? You need to understand that these are scenarios where, local attorneys, local title companies, and, contracts are vitally important. This is just not something that we even put out or educate on widely in a broad sense. And we really, really focus way more on understanding the basics so that when people do start to implement creatives into their business that are under the Titanium umbrella, what are they able to do? They're able to just understand those local contracts, who their contacts are for those local contracts, the local laws and regulations, and then they really truly start to understand that this is not a more common solution that we can offer that is in the best interest of all parties in the transaction. It is fantastic when it is the solution and everybody can win more because of it. But more often than not, it's to win more. It's not the only way the deal can win. So I just really, really, really want to encourage you guys to not be making these mistakes. Don't be that person. Continue educating yourself. Make sure you have a healthy amount of experience before you really even try to attempt or partner with somebody. And understand that these things are very vitally necessary for you to protect your business in the long term. And one contract or some contracts are not worth it if you are not being responsible towards your business, by understanding these things in creatives, because they are definitely more complex across the board, start to finish. Every part of the process is much more complex. And this is something that people don't necessarily want to talk about. I'm just saying. So can you wholesale creatives? Absolutely. Should you? I don't know. That definitely, the answer to that is all based on your knowledge and experience. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this topic. I know that it's not the most popular narrative, and I'm definitely not trying to be negative, Nancy, but I am trying to put this information out there because I think it's something that needs to be more talked about in our industry. And I hope that it helps you in your business. Make sure you smash that like button, comment, And we'll see you guys on the next one.